the process of democratization in post-war Germany was not so easy as it looks like in retrospective. It was a very mixed discussion going on, and it was, of course, an entirely different process in Western Germany and East Germany. And to talk about a common perspective, a common way of overcoming the past is it's not clear. There were an Eastern development and a Western one. And a very important caesura, of course, was 1989, because it opened first time for people in the western part of Germany the eyes and their minds for what happened in the East. And I think that to realize what Nazi Germany has done in the eastern parts, eastern regions of Eastern Europe was a very important moment up to now. I would say that not only the works of the Eastern intellectuals or the civic movements like Solidarność and others had a great impact for reorientation and re-evaluation in the Western mind, but especially the example of Ukraine. Maybe not in the early 90s, maybe not even during the Orange Revolution, but the aggression, the occupation of Crimea and the ongoing war, the Russian war against in eastern Ukraine, I think was a very strong element of rethinking what we know about Eastern Europe, what we do not know. And so I think that the Ukrainian events showed us, at least in the West, that things happened we had not on our display. The war was back in Europe. The defense of sovereignty and national identity by the Ukrainian nation was back, and the naive idea and the illusions of a happy end of post-war Europe came to an end. So I would say that these events, Crimea, the war in eastern Ukraine, were very important for reorientation and for remapping the mental map of Europeans, at least in Germany. The last point I would like to say, the disputes over the past are part of or an element of the ongoing transformation, and it seems to me that we are not very well prepared for these disputes. Putin's politics of history are aggressive and not without support of some scholars. The main issues are well known. This year was obviously scheduled as an hype. The liberation of the concentration camp in Auschwitz, the anniversary of the Yalta Conference, the Din Pobjedy, the Victory Day this weekend, the Potsdam Conference in July, August, the end of the war in Far East and the foundation of the United Nations. That this choreography, including the establishment of the authoritarian rule of Putin, now is cancelled due to the pandemic, does not mean that his ideological war does not work. The man responsible for initiating wars and responsible for war crimes in Syria and Ukraine uses the rhetoric of anti-fascism. The man, ignoring the independence of neighboring states, is combining imperial traditions with his slogans of international solidarity against the common enemy. The man building armies and weapons plays the role of the victim. This phraseology, supported by personal and institutional networks and with a lot of money, works. Look at Germany. Most people remembering the German crimes and the suffering on the territory of the Soviet Union, the 27 millions of victims, identify the sufferings of the peoples of the former Soviet Union with Russia, only with Russia. Most Germans feel responsible for the horrors in Russia, not for what they have done in Ukraine or Belarus. This mental map is still Russocentric and is used in the Russia-Ukrainian war of today. The anti-fascist rhetoric of the left goes hand in hand with a kind of neo-Bismarckian idea of special German-Russian relations, where there is no place for the independent nations in between. And I do not talk about business people or Putin's main lobbyist, a former federal chancellor, and his impact. The danger of an emerging alliance which is eager to compromise and appeasement is a real one. The answer to the neo-Soviet imperial politics of Putin's Russia cannot be challenged by a kind of nationalistic counter-ideology or counter-mythology, but by a culture of independent research and discourse, which is, frankly spoken, not easy in times of military pressure and intervention. Now, coming to an end, nobody knows when and how the present crisis will come to an end. But it seems to me quite clear that all conflicts, the more hidden or more obvious ones, will sharpen and come to the surface. Societies, citizens, as well as political elites have to demonstrate how they can handle and manage the huge problems of their countries. Which type of society will cope with these unprecedented challenges, the democratic or the more authoritarian ones? It's quite open.